Silence.
What is going on, folks? We are live.
Yeah.
We got with us today for Deadpool 2 talk. Of course, as always, we got the amazing Foulmouth Mike Bobbitt.
What's going on tonight, ladies and germs?
And we have a very special surprise guest with us. None other than the Himmel-God himself.
Yes, feeling good today. Talk about Deadpool 2, dude. I'm psyched for this. Let's do this.
You may hear snoring in the background, as you can see here now on the stream.
What, we just started this video and someone's sleeping already? What the?
He was actually sleeping before.
It's your fault again.
He was actually sleeping before it started, but of course, just him being him. So for those of you in the chat who see the Cold Bone Show typing, that's actually his niece Paige typing for him. And now he's going to roll over, and instead of hearing snoring, we're going to hear him farting.
Oh, no, here comes the dark side right there.
Exactly.
That'll clear a room.
His usually do, yeah. So, to fill everybody in, yes, we are talking Deadpool 2 today. These two on the call have seen the movie. I have not had the chance to see it yet, but as I said, I do care about spoilers. I'm going to enjoy a movie whether I have the spoilers or not. So, it's going to be mainly the two of them bouncing off of each other. I will try and direct the conversation into which direction we should go, and we'll take it from there.
In other words, this shit's going to have nuts in it. Y'all remember that from Deadpool 1?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Between that and the chimichangas, we're having a party.
Oh, yeah. Too bad I'm only drinking beer. All right.
Okay,
Let's
so
begin.
where does this movie start off?
Mr. Bobbitt, come on, man.
Oh, where do we begin with this? First of all, I gotta say this. The marketing for this movie was freaking awesome. Like, look at this. They released the old some of the old Blu-rays from the studio. Look at this. And it's one for Office Space.
Oh, damn, man. That Revenge of the Nerds one takes me back, way back in the 80s watching that movie, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Holy shit. That
like,
was a cool
they
movie.
knew what they was doing with this.
Well, when you look at Deadpool, it's all the meta humor and how Deadpool can basically be anywhere at any time and break the fourth wall. And that, to me, is what's so exciting about the character. You know, it's very humorous. It's just off the wall. And this movie lives up to that hype of off-the-wall comedy, have a little bit of heart in it, which is fine, you know, and, of course, badass action. And you get it all in this film. So I was so hyped even before. And when you mentioned the marketing, Bobbitt, you know, I even go back to that first teaser trailer that we get of the old guy getting robbed in the alley. And all of a sudden you see him, you just see Deadpool walking down the street, and then all of a sudden there's a phone booth, and he's changing in the freaking phone booth. And the first thing that comes to me when I'm in the theater going, where the fuck is a fucking phone booth anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Who uses a phone booth? I mean, fuck Superman. It's like you can't change the fucking phone booth no more. But I love it. They played like the Superman music and all that stuff. They were going all out, and then of course you get Stan Lee. It was great too.
My favorite line. That will always be my favorite line ever. Is "Zip it, Stan Lee."
Yeah. Because when you really think about it, like going back into the movie, maybe I might have missed it a little bit there, Bob. I don't know. In the movie, did you see a Stan Lee cameo at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I just missed it right away, but
he wasn't actually in the movie. What? You remember the scene when they was all parachuting down?
Yes.
Well, if you notice on the side of a building, there's a Stan Lee picture.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one of those little tiny Easter eggs that I got to catch.
Yeah.
You know, eventually when I watch it the second time, since I've only watched it once, but you know, I was just so psyched for it. You know, X-Force and all that stuff, and there's just so much going on. I mean, yeah, there's still kind of some plot holes here and there when you watch the movie, but they sewed up quite a bit when you look at between the first and second. And if I had to compare like both movies a little bit, I would still think that the first one was better, in my opinion, because you know it is an origin story, but it's an origin story that's told well, and you know, not like it's not too slow. It doesn't skip over a whole bunch of shit. It gives you the basics of what you need to know, and the humor that Ryan Reynolds brings to the table as the character. And then in the second movie, just picks up right where it's left off. You know the story. Here we go, and it's like it's just one big ass ride. So I was just so freaking hyped from sitting in the seat in the theater. So my expectations were a little high, but it still met those expectations. So if you haven't seen it yet, Heather, go watch it.
It's been a little difficult for me to get to a movie theater to watch it, especially since that one over there doesn't really like Marvel movies. So
you gotta train them then.
Please, and please, Heather, stay for the after credit stuff. That shit's hilarious.
Marvel movies, I always do.
But there's not a if I'm right, there's not a post credit scene. There's just a mid credits, and that mid credit scene is so freaking hilarious. It just
there's two of them.
Yeah, they're so good. Well, I guess we'll get into that later. So, Heather, you might want to close your ears for that one.
Oh, I don't care. I really don't care. I knew about the whole Hawkeye thing and the whole Professor thing with the Avengers thing before I actually saw the movies. X-Men. So.
All right, so Bobby, where do you want to begin on this? I mean, where do you want to start from the beginning and work your way through, or what's your idea? Where I want to follow off of you here. So, let's start in the beginning.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. Like the beginning, I swear, was wrote by Canadian Basement. The beginning was so Canadian Basement, it hurts.
Maybe a little bit of John Woo. Get a little bit of John Woo there in the beginning. A lot of the action.
And out of nowhere, they fucking played Dolly Parton. Out of nowhere.
Working 9 to 5.
I was just going to ask, was it working 9 to 5? Because that would have been perfect.
It was hilarious. It's cool how they open up. It's like it's almost like you never left from that first movie. It's like the action just picks up right there. They knew right where to go and just went with it. Yeah, you get a little opening montage where you get right before those fight scenes, you get a throwback to Logan, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, because they have the little like a little musical, like a music box kind of thing, and it has the ending to Logan with Logan already impaled right there. And you have Deadpool talking about, so you didn't want to do a damn sequel, you know? So right off the bat, they went to it, and it was just dead on funny. So you knew what kind of ride you were in for right from the beginning.
Well, you knew considering the fact that Ryan Reynolds was still part of the main production crew when it comes to the writing and the directing of it. You knew it was still going to be good.
Oh yeah, and like we said, there's so much meta humor that is in this movie that plays off all the different franchises.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it doesn't really just stick to Marvel, and that's kind of one of the best things that you get out of this. Because even in the first movie, again, they didn't completely stick to Marvel. They moved around to some different things, especially stuff that Ryan Reynolds has done in the past. So it's like he's also making fun of himself, and it definitely works because you again see this here in this movie. I know, and the best part is, like, if you haven't seen it yet, Heather, but and you've only seen the trailers, the best part is that the trailers don't give away everything in the movie,
which is good.
And that's one thing you got to applaud them for, because you look at a lot of these movies that have been out lately, especially DC movies. The last Terminator movie we had, they gave away all the freaking goodies before you even went into the theater. You knew what the whole movie was about.
Right.
It was like, what was the point of watching? Deadpool? No. They gave you a lot, but yet there was still so much more that you still needed to see, and it was not a letdown. So I was very happy about that. So kudos to the marketing group, man. They nailed this. And, all the teasers, like the Bob Ross and all that, and all the different things they put together in the marketing for this movie, I applaud them, because they did not give away too much, and it made me happy in the end, saying at least I knew there was more to see, which obviously we'll get into. But the beginning, the fight scenes, brilliant. Some of it, of course, we did see in the trailer, but it didn't matter. It was like balls to the wall action. I'm sitting there with my popcorn going, oh yeah, with that popcorn just eating up, saying, give me more, give me more, give me more. I was very happy about that. But Bob, what'd you think of the action overall in that first part?
Oh, dude, it was awesome. Like you said with the marketing, I love how they never gave away the actual villain of the movie.
Yes.
Like the marketing, you think Cable is. No. There's a whole other villain that nobody knew about.
Well, what's funny is I think some people picked up on this, that in the trailer to Deadpool, one of the bigger trailers, there actually was it was very, very quick, like less than a second. If you blinked, you missed it. That you might have caught a small glimpse of who the other villain was, and it was very, very quick. So that way they didn't give it away. As I said, we're going to talk about who the other villain is, so it was really cool. But yeah, the way they played Cable to be the bad guy, it was like, yeah, you're thinking, okay, there's got to be more than Cable. So, because Cable and Deadpool together, it just works. It's peanut butter and jelly, baby. I mean, come on.
I like how they casted Josh Brolin to be Cable. Like, Josh Brolin has had a huge ass year so far with, and I love the references to Thanos in the movie. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, if you saw in the trailer, Pump the Hate Brakes Thanos, it's in here. They did it. It's not exactly the way you saw it in the trailer. It was like a completely different scene, but still said it. And mentioning Josh Brolin, yeah, and he's still not done yet. I mean, not only did you get Avengers and Deadpool, I think you got the Sicario movie that's coming up at the end of this month. Also has Josh Brolin. I mean, think about where he's come since back in the days of the Goonies.
Yeah.
Right? You remember him as the older brother in the Goonies.
Doing the workout thing all the time, just trying to get the head cheerleader to be his girl.
And then here he comes in this movie. I was like, holy shit. Josh Brolin is like MVP this year. He's the MVP in the theaters.
He's certainly doing,
hats off to him.
When it comes to movies like this, he's certainly doing more for them than the huge names like Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh
Will
Jackman.
Smith used to be the bomb back in the day.
Yes.
Great watching Will Smith.
But
it's like
he's kind of fallen off, and it's kind of sad to see.
he has fallen off, but sometimes it's good that you get an actor that's riding that big high, and then he falls off, and then you at least get someone else that rides that high, and then they'll fall off, and then it's like a cycle that just keeps going. So you're always waiting to who the next one's going to be. You know, I mean, Johnny Depp had it for a while, you know, and now you think Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, and now you're seeing Josh Brolin just take over.
See, and a lot of people thought it was going to be Orlando Bloom because of the Pirates movies.
Yes, and then of course with the Lord of the Rings, and he was just riding high, and then all of a sudden it was like
crash and burn.
You know,
it was crash and burn for him, but that was one of his own decisions. Honestly,
and you look at this rise to fame for him. You know, it also makes me go back to say like Tom Cruise back in the '80s.
Yeah,
movies like Top Gun and Cocktail and all that
Risky
stuff.
Business.
It was like he couldn't have a miss.
Yeah,
he was hitting hit after hit, and he's still going now. I mean, not as much. I mean, you got Mission Impossible and stuff like that, but he's still pumping out a movie here and there.
Sometimes I feel like Mission Impossible is the only movie he has left in his pocket.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that, what was it, a couple of years ago, I think it was, about 2-3 years ago, he did a movie called Edge of Tomorrow, which I thought was fantastic. It's such a great movie. And we're still waiting to see. Supposedly they were thinking about doing a sequel to that movie. And I haven't heard anything yet. Maybe they're still trying to get Emily Blunt. So I'm like, man, what's going on? Because they said they were looking to do a second movie. And I'm like, okay, well, at least you got Mission Impossible. Oh, and Top Gun. There's going to be a new Top Gun. So...
Right. Yeah, but you know what, Cody? Jack Reacher was a novel that basically bored the crap out of me, so I didn't bother watching the movie.
Really?
With the first novel, the first Jack Reacher novel there were so many flashbacks within like 2 chapters of each other. It's just like, I'm done. Just actually advance the damn story and make sense, or I'm not going to bother with it. But that's how I read the books.
Let's put Deadpool in there, and he can explain things, and everything will be good. It's like Morgan Freeman coming in to explain something.
I can see it now. They threw a chimichanga at each other, and then life went on. Now moving on with the story.
That's all we need. It's Hugh Jackman now. So
I so hope that he beats this cancer yet again.
Yeah.
So that he can continue doing this, because I'm sorry, he fits the Logan character so well. I do not see anybody else filling those shoes right now.
Well, you won't be disappointed in this movie because obviously Hugh Jackman is there. So, but again, very brief cameo, but it can plays off a previous movie. But we'll get into that. But
yeah.
So we get from the fighting action, obviously, to having Wade be with Vanessa. And the one thing that caught me in this trailer a lot or the trailers and everything leading up to the movie, is you didn't see enough of Vanessa. And in this movie, in the opening moments, you find out why.
Yeah. You're like, holy shit!
She dies, and I was like, "What? No wonder we didn't get to see the V chick that much."
I know, right? I'm like, what the fuck? Really?
Yeah. I was like, dude, that was disappointing, but I kind of felt like it was coming, when you didn't see her that much, and I was kind of worried about that. And when you see her die, taking the gunshot because of the one guy that Deadpool couldn't get early on in the opening montage, and eventually I guess he finds out where they live, and he goes ahead and kills Vanessa, and it's like,
yeah.
And Wade couldn't save her, so it was an interesting kind of plot line there that they had going on. So I had a little here. I mean, Vanessa's hot, and it's like. Let's make a super baby, all that shit.
Just go put in the kitchen.
It was really sad, which of course led up to that moment when he's on top of those barrels trying to blow himself up. So
when isn't Barrel trying to blow himself up? Honestly,
I love how when when he blew himself up, he did the middle finger.
Yes. He blows himself up into bits, and the cool part for him is that, I guess, for him, his heaven ends up being Vanessa, because he sees her. But I like what they did here, because anyone who's read the comics knows that every time that Deadpool would supposedly die, but not really die, he would see Death, the goddess Death, and he was obsessed with her, and because of the fact that Deadpool couldn't die. So they kind of replaced that goddess of Death with Vanessa, and she kind of takes that role. And at every time, that he wants to die, it's like Vanessa sending him back. Oh, not time yet. You got to go. So you get those brief moments. So it, again, plays off the comic and seeing that type of situation.
Well, it's not just the comic it plays off of. It also plays off of Wolverine Origins.
Yes. Yes. We're getting so deep into Wolverine Origins. It's going to be...
Oh, dude, I'm not surprised. I mean, considering that Ryan Reynolds has basically taken it not just from the comics, but also from that movie, so that people who have not seen or read the comics have a point to go from.
Yeah. But it's great that in this movie, like, he can still harken back to X-Men Origins Wolverine, and you get a lot of nods from that movie, and also get a bit of nods from Green Lantern.
Yes.
And kind of throw both of them in there, because you saw them a bit in the first movie in brief moments, and you get them here in the sequel as well, because he just continues to harp on it. So it's absolutely fantastic. So
I think that's Ryan Reynolds' way of saying, yeah, I didn't do too well in this movie, but bam, look at me now, bitch.
Yeah. It was great for him to finally be able to take Deadpool and make it the way we want to see it, the Wade Wilson we always wanted to see.
The way it's supposed to
be. And put it on the screen. This is what we wanted, where Fox screwed it up with the X-Men Origins Wolverine. So,
I will say
hold your head down in shame from that movie.
I will say they didn't do too terribly with that movie, with how they portrayed the Wade character. How they did the Deadpool character, they fucked up royally, yes. But the Wade character was fucking spot on, in my opinion.
like when you sit, like, if you go back to that X-Men movie, like the scene where they're all in the elevator.
Yes.
And he's sitting there and he just never shuts up.
Yeah.
And you see them commenting about, man, did they ever shut you up? And then you go back to the first Deadpool movie when Colossus is like, do you have an off button? You still get more of that here in the second movie. It's like, he will never shut up.
Which, that was Deadpool. Even in the comic.
That's how he was. And it was great. And it's like he's basically in every scene, he finds a way to shine in that scene in a way that almost nobody tries to steal the show from him. So it was really interesting, even though you have Josh Brolin out there, even with Cable, every once in a while he'll have one of those moments, or having Colossus in there, he'll try and steal a moment or two. So,
well, that's the one thing with Cable and Colossus, even in the comics.
Yes,
they had wonderful one-liners. But that was pretty much all they were good for.
Exactly. The one, if I had to give, of all the characters, the one I was a little disappointed, and I was hoping to get a little bit more, was from Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Okay.
I wanted more, and we didn't get enough of that in this movie.
Yeah.
Although we do find out she has a girlfriend, and I was like, yes.
Well, there we go.
And she is fucking hot.
Yukio,
dear God.
Yukio is hot, and I loved every single moment when she's in the movie, and you got Wade look at her going, "Hi, Yukio." She's like, "Hi, Wade." Every single time, and it was like, I caught the joke, and it was like, oh my god, this is so funny every single time. Whereas Negasonic is like, "Fuck you," Whereas Yukio's like, "Hey." It's like two complete opposites. And it's just seeing the two of them together is just really funny, and it's such great moments. But Yukio and Deadpool, there was something really cool and magical with the two of them.
And I love how he's in the fucking mansion. He's like, "Is there any other X-Men in here?" And like they're all in they're all in that room. The door just shuts.
You see Beast. You see all of them. You see James McAvoy sitting there as Professor X, bald and all, and you see all the X-Men all there in that one room, and then Beast is like, "Bam!" Close the door.
dude, I actually said in the theater, "Can we see these guys a little bit more, please?"
It's like just like in the first movie where they're like, "Wow, you've got this big old mansion, yet there's only 2 of you in here." You know, you think the studio can afford more X-Men? Because you think about it, Deadpool is the type of movie that doesn't have a very large budget. Universe. Yeah. It's a lower budget movie, and you could tell when you see it. Yeah, they got a little bit more than in terms of money to help make the movie compared to the first. But you could tell when Ryan Reynolds says, "Hey, let's not go all out big budget, blah blah blah. Let's keep it at that lower budget." And it goes to show that you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to make a movie. Like, especially when you look at Deadpool, it doesn't have that huge budget, and they can still turn out a hit. And I think even the first movie was less than $100 million to make. Right. So I think it was around $60 million that they used to make the first movie, and it was a huge success. It just set the tone, saying, "Hey, you don't have to spend all this money to make a big ass movie." DC Universe, but
and I love how he kept referencing DC.
Yes. You got that one reference during the trailer, but during the movie, you get quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
You see, I like the way DC Universe does their stuff because they're more gritty and more real world.
Right.
Versus what Marvel is in some ways.
A little bit like Marvel could be a little bit more campy.
Yes.
And but yet
it's all sunshine and flowers, and no, it's not.
I just wish that DC would put a little bit more into their story, a little bit, fleshing out these characters and make us give a shit about.
I think they're going to be trying to do that.
Unlike Batman, because he's like the only one we cared.
Right, and I think they're going to be trying to do that more with the Aquaman movie, because they really didn't have the time to do it with the Wonder Woman movie.
I love the Wonder Woman movie. I think out of all the movies I've seen for DC, that's the one I enjoyed the most. Is Wonder Woman.
I didn't like that movie. I thought it was boring.
Really? I loved it.
Yeah.
To each their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to find people that loved it. You're going to find people that hated it. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll even come out and say, look, I liked Suicide Squad. I didn't hate it. Yes,
dude, I love Suicide Squad.
Still, I liked it.
The Suicide Squad was actually pretty good for how they told that story. They could have done slightly better with it, yes, but they were pretty close to the actual comic for Suicide Squad, so I wasn't disappointed at all.
As long as we can stop shooting stuff in the air and making something out of shooting something in the air, and making this beam of light and whatever. Right. It's like, how many movies have we seen that shit already? It's like,
I mean, that's been every Avengers movie as of late, so...
Maybe we can make the beam shoot down.
Or quite possibly it goes sideways.
Exactly. It's like, come up with something new. See, it's a new beam. See?
See, it's blue instead of purple.
You know what still gets me is that Suicide Squad movie is when they blow up the satellite, yet they can still see in space. They blew up our satellite. Well, how the fuck can you still see?
Exactly.
But anyway, we're going off track. We're supposed to be talking about Deadpool,
but that's the wonderful thing about Deadpool. It ties in all of these universes.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's kind of hard not to talk about all of the other universes along with Deadpool.
Let's talk about the kid.
I'm sorry?
Obviously, who plays a big role in this movie.
Oh, yeah, Flying Fist.
That's a terrible name.
It is. It really is.
I love how they reference it's a terrible name. It's so bad. But I liked him in this. I thought he was very good with the source material that he had to work with. I thought was well done, and how it ties into Cable, in where he's a man from the future, and that his family is dead because of this kid, and that he's going back to the past to get rid of him. It has a it's like this movie has a bit of a Terminator vibe to it. And it's one of the things I kind of caught on to, where Cable's trying to kill the kid, and here's Deadpool trying to protect him. So a very strong Terminator-esque storyline that you get here. And I was actually really impressed with that, that they were able to find a way to kind of incorporate Terminator into this movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Because I am a big Terminator fan, at least of the first two movies.
And the thing I like about the movie, they gave this kid a horrible scenario. They didn't just say, oh, here he is with no explanation. No. That fucking sick, sadistic bastard fucking tortured that poor kid into being what he is.
Mm-hmm. You hit the nail on the head. The things that happen to him, and throughout the movie, you see that. His upbringing and what happened to him and what happened in this institute that he was in, and which led him to become this nasty villain in the future. So, and of course he gets made fun of because of his weight and all that stuff too, so I thought that was pretty funny on top of that. But the interaction between him and Wade was just pretty darn good. I thought it was very interesting. Mm-hmm. From when they first met, and he's wearing that little jersey of a trainee for the X-Men, which became like this whole big theme throughout the movie, where they kept calling Deadpool a trainee.
Yes.
Which again plays off the comics a little bit too. And he's sitting there just trying to talk, and he's telling everybody to fucking can it while he's trying to talk to this kid. So, and then of course, you get the kid, and of course you go back to Dopender, who was the cab driver, and he plays a big role in this too, where he wants to become a mercenary. And it all plays out through the course of this movie with Dopender, and then of course with the kid himself, because you don't get to Cable right away, although you'll get a glimpse of him in the beginning. But then as the movie starts to pick up a little bit, that's when Cable really comes into play, and is going to start whooping some ass. And you get that when they're in the prison. So it's pretty awesome, because obviously Deadpool fucks up. They go to a prison cell. And it makes it even more interesting, because they have these collars on that inhibits their mutant powers. So obviously, as when Deadpool has this on, his cancer comes back, and he's dying of cancer again. So he's sitting there talking to the kid, and the kid's like, "Well, we're in a prison. What do we do? Well, I got to take on the biggest motherfucker in here and fight him." So, because he doesn't want to become someone's bitch.
Exactly.
That was great. You watch Deadpool getting his ass whooped, and it's like, well, what is he going to do?
Yeah. Who did you think was in that huge ass cell the whole time?
That was Juggernaut. Oh shit! I just gave it away. Fuck. Thanks a lot, Bobbit.
I know. I just asked who you thought was in the cell. I didn't say who was in the cell.
Well, obviously, it's the other villain of this movie, or the other real villain that people really wanted to come to see, and it's Juggernaut. That was the one, and he was, that's the one that everyone was so afraid of because he was so big, and that's eventually when he befriended him, and that when they would escape, he was going to be the one that would get him out, and so yeah, Juggernaut ends up being that guy. So if you haven't seen it yet, oh, there you go, Juggernaut's in this movie.
I legit thought it was a parody of Bane inside that cell. That or Killer Croc.
To tell you the truth, if I had heard that Killer Croc was in this movie, I would have peed my pants laughing.
Yeah. Another version of him. Yeah, that would have been pretty interesting. But I like that it was Juggernaut. Yeah, you didn't get the Juggernaut of X-Men X-Men 3. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. You didn't get that. But you get this Juggernaut character who is humongous. I mean, he is ridiculously big. He dwarfs this kid. And this kid is tiny compared to when you see Juggernaut, which is mostly all CGI. The same thing like you would see Colossus. You know, it's all CGI. And the cool part, it was played by Ryan Reynolds. You know, it was just like a big-faced Ryan Reynolds kind of blown up in that suit. Which was really funny. And I was like, no way! And it was like, yeah, that was him. And so that was pretty cool. So you could see the depth of range that he has.
Yeah, no kidding.
Dude, like when I was in the theater and when he busts out of that cell and it was Juggernaut, I was like, where the fuck has he been?
Exactly.
Well, now you know he's been in that jail.
But when he comes out, when they finally get him out of that cell and all hell breaks loose, it's a great scene. It's a great moment that you get to see Juggernaut finally again for what feels like years. I mean, because I feel like in X-Men 3, they didn't really do him right. This movie does Juggernaut right. And
they downplayed Juggernaut in X3 so badly.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And Juggernaut in X-Men 3 just looks so small. Mm-hmm. That's not the kind of person you want to see is Juggernaut. Juggernaut's got to be freaking huge, you know? He's got to be a fucking behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that, that's like, dude, that's Juggernaut. And that's what you've been wanting to see the whole time. When you see him come out, you know, he's got the helmet on and all, and it's like, oh my God, you know exactly what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, the ship was going to get wrecked. And so when you have Juggernaut out, that's what you got. Everything was just getting wrecked.
Right.
I loved it. So when they made you think that Cable was going to be the villain in this movie, he wasn't. It was you know, Fire Fist and Juggernaut. They were the villains. So I thought that was really cool. What about you, Bobbit? Give me your thoughts on Juggernaut.
Oh, dude, like, I've always been a huge fan of Juggernaut because I grew up with the '90s X-Men show.
Yes.
And you know, and when I was really excited when I saw him in X3, and like right after that, you didn't see me anymore. I was like, where's Juggernaut? Where's he been? You know, where the hell's Cable in the X-Men timeline? And seeing both of those in the movie, I'm like, holy shit! Finally, we see the fucking Juggernaut and all the glory.
Yeah, and it didn't let us down when you're sitting there watching him. It just didn't let me down at all. It was like, oh my God, he stole the moments, you know, in that scene because no one expected it. No one saw it coming that they were going to see, holy shit, it's Juggernaut, you know. No one knew from the trailers. It was just a very slight nod in the trailers, but you still couldn't see that it was him. So just the thought that they gave you something in this movie to say, surprise, bitches, you know, and it just blew everybody away. I was very thrilled to see Juggernaut in this movie. So I was very happy about it, you know. I know there might have been a website or two that was giving it away before the movie because obviously there was an advanced, you know, they have advanced screenings for this.
Right.
And in those screenings, like, oh shit, here it comes, Juggernaut stuff. I'm like, oh, you bitches, you know. But they didn't really give it away for me, so I was still relatively surprised. And then, of course, there were other surprises, so.
They still focused more on it possibly being Cable. That's what it is.
There was a heavy focus on
rather
Cable.
than it being the Juggernaut.
Yes. They had a heavy focus on him and made him look like the villain, made him look like how the Terminator would be.
Yep.
And they fulfilled that role, you know, that type of style, not really a role, but a style, and they executed that style very well. And that's something that they can hang their hat on and say, that was a big accomplishment for this movie. So they sold it very well in the marketing and then said, surprise!
Yes.
Here's a little bit more that you didn't see. So... But, yeah, really impressive. But, Bobby, let's talk X-Force here for a second.
Oh, boy.
We get the freaking X-Force in this movie, man.
Dude, I love how they shut everybody in the recruitment segment.
Yes.
And you get that one fucking dude who has no special powers at all. He just has an excellent mustache.
Yeah, Peter. Peter was great. And the cool part, if any of you guys are on Twitter, you can find him on Twitter. Pete W or Peter W. You can find him on there, and it's the character from Deadpool. And
are you serious?
Yes, there is a Twitter feed of Peter.
Holy shit, that's awesome!
Yeah, and it was so funny because the part of the marketing of the movie centered around that. And it was so freaking hilarious. I'm waiting for my computer to connect to the internet, but I'm gonna find it during the course while we're talking. I'll get that Twitter feed of Peter. It's really funny, and the stuff he puts on there just to make you laugh. You know, because just some off the wall stuff. You're looking like, huh? But then you look into it a bit, and go, okay, that's kind of funny because that was his character, and people are trying to really look into his character and find something on it. But okay, I just got Twitter up right now. I'm going to search for Peter, and I'm gonna. As soon as I find it, guys, I'm going to give you the Twitter for this.
Okay,
which
cool.
is absolutely hilarious. It's just absolute gold. But let's see, Peter. Okay, here it is. Here's the address for Peter from the Deadpool 2 movie. It is at Peter W _ 1974. And you will see Peter from Deadpool.
Alright, I put it up in the chat for those of you who want to go check that out. It's one of the characters from the Deadpool movie is actually on Twitter.
I thought it was hilarious when I saw this. It's just really funny, and you're looking, going, "Oh my God, that's Peter." But that is him, and then you'll see a whole bunch of stuff from Peter. So you'll catch up on it.
What the fuck? Hey, Frank, look.
But there you go, guys. There he is. He's on Twitter. That's the guy. That's the character, and you get all the tweets from him. You guys got 129,000 followers already. So
well, damn. Apparently, this guy's been circulating.
He tweets on there. There's a lot of stuff you catch, and he does reference a lot to the Deadpool movie. So he's complete. It's a Twitter account that is completely in character.
Okay.
So it's really cool. But look at the other characters that they recruit. Obviously, Domino, that we do get, which plays a key into this. But you look at some of the other ones that really caught on. Obviously, Bedlam, who's Terry Crews.
Uh-huh.
And
that was awesome.
Yeah, or of course Vanisher, who we find out is played by Brad Pitt. So, because the character Vanisher you don't see at all, and you find out he's played by Brad Pitt.
Well, that's interesting. Well, it's just like with Guardians of the Galaxy. You had no idea that Rocket was actually Bradley Cooper. Or that group was Vin Diesel.
And then you go into like the Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, and you see a cameo by Matt Damon, who's sitting there playing the acting as Loki in a little play. So, and which by the way, I think he survived the Infinity Gauntlet, by the way. So they wanted to throw a nod to that character.
But speaking of Matt Damon, did you know that he was in Deadpool 2?
Yes.
Yeah, here's a fun fact for you people who didn't know that. He's one of the rednecks that when the cable crashed into Earth, he was one of the people that was at that truck.
Okay.
Just to give you a little tidbit, but yeah, Brad Pitt ends up playing the Vanisher, who's a character who's completely invisible. You can't see him, but they have a resume and everything for him. And of course they hire him, and throughout the movie you're like, "Where's Vanisher?" And then of course you get to see the other X-Force characters. So they get like the original X-Force team, and as they jump out of the helicopter, and all of a sudden they're sitting there parachuting in to the scene, and you see as they parachute, they form like an X, which I thought was really cool. And then they all
fucking die. They all die in horrible ways.
And the only reason you know that Brad Pitt plays the Vanisher is because he hits a freaking electrical line, and you see him die there. All of a sudden, you're looking, go, "Oh my God, that's Brad Pitt!"
I'm like, "Holy shit! It was him the whole time."
Yeah. And there's Peter. He comes down trying to save the other guy who spits the acid. And he gets acid on his arm, and he loses his arm. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Bedlam hits a sign. It was like, and it was funny because. What was it? T.J. Miller, who's in the movie. He remembers him saying, "Oh yeah, there's a wind advisory today." And next thing you know, here they are jumping out of a fucking plane. They're all dead, except for Domino and freaking Deadpool.
Of course.
And Peter's somewhat alive, but just a severed arm and everything. So.
And there was one who went into the fucking wood chipper.
Yeah. Every possible bad thing that could happen when they jump out of this aircraft happens to them. And I'm sitting there like going, "What the fuck?" But that was funny.
It was like the ending to a Rogue One. Everybody died.
Hey, no, I'm just kidding. I never saw the movie. But they all die like in within just like a couple of minutes. They're all gone except for Deadpool and Domino are the only ones left, and which is expected because Domino is lucky. So.
Okay, a little derailment here for the show. For those of you who do want to see it, the Stanley Cup Finals is on right now, and we have Pat Sajak on the ice making announcements.
They're gonna play Wheel of Fortune for
Is that where Joe Cronin is getting the wheel from?
Probably. It's probably the retired Wheel of Fortune.
That's where Joe Cronin's getting his wheel, right?
Probably.
Yeah, most likely.
Oh my God. But so we see the X-Force die. Domino makes her way eventually to that truck scene, which leads to the Juggernaut. And of course you see Deadpool riding around in a little scooter, trying to catch up to him, which is it's
typical.
Great. It's typical Deadpool throughout the movie. And of course they're telling him, watch out for Cable, because you know Cable's gonna be there, and they play that role out. And of course again, going back to the trailer where you see Deadpool and Cable meet up again, and you get that moment from X-Men Origins Wolverine where he uses the swords to block all the bullets.
Right.
And, you hear him say, "Bring it on, One-Eyed Willie," again, harkening back to the Goonies with the One-Eyed Willie. And they just go at it. Next thing you know, you're seeing them, dead on, right next to each other while he's trying to avoid all the bullets. But I love how the fact, if you watch from X-Men Origins Wolverine, how quickly he used the swords to dodge all the bullets. This one where he's a bit slower, but yet still reprises that scene, that role. So, and then you look at him seeing a few bullets pass by. Ooh, yeah. So those bullets.
That's probably where he got the movie wanting to be more organic, whereas with Origins, the speed was probably CGI'd, whereas with this, it was probably actually him.
Yeah, this one was a little bit more him, and definitely CGI in the X-Men Origins movie because of how quickly he was doing it.
Right.
And you could tell that it was a CGI fest. But of course, listen, Deadpool's got plenty of CGI in it too, but not as much.
It's not as heavy, right?
They have a bit more practical effects that you do see in this movie, and not as much in the CGI department. Henceforth, the lower budget, which again works out. And then seeing the two of them go head to head, Cable and Deadpool going head to head with each other, and eventually trying to help realize the situation. But again, we get that role reversal in this movie, where if you remember from the first one, where Colossus is trying to teach Deadpool, to spare a life. Here's Deadpool doing the same thing in front of Cable, trying to go 5 seconds, trying to tell him to save a life, and here's Cable screw you, dude, I'm killing this kid. So But eventually, of course, here comes the Juggernaut, and the Juggernaut eventually makes his first appearance, and all hell breaks loose. So,
as is the Juggernaut way.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, and eventually they realize that they're going to have to stop the kid, but Deadpool wants the chance to save a life, kind of like what Colossus was trying to teach him.
Right.
So he's trying to give him 5 moments to save one life. You know, that kind of shit. But yeah, it's such a great moment, and of course, eventually, with Deadpool doing the high fidelity moment, holding up he's holding up a boom box, but really it's just off of a cell phone. So
there is one part that we skipped over that I really like, where when he's cut in half. And he's sitting on the couch. He's regrowing.
Oh yes,
the Beetlejuice reference. Yes,
his dick is hanging out.
Yeah.
He goes. They all go, really, dude?
Yeah, that's right. Because he does get cut in. He gets cut in half. I think it was during that moment. During that time, he does get cut in half, and there you see him with Blind Al. So. seeing him there cut in half, and then they play it just like the first movie where he saws off his hand to get away from Colossus. In this movie, he loses the lower half of his body and he grows it back. So it's like you're seeing him, and they're all looking at him like, oh, geez, they're looking like, because obviously he's got his dick hanging out. So. And he's got these tiny baby legs, which is absolutely hilarious.
He put up, Ryan Reynolds tweeted out the gif of that scene where it's just him sitting on the couch with his arm outstretched and he's just legs crossed and it's a baby kicking back and forth.
Yeah, and he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt, kind of like what we saw in the Jurassic Park movie. And I was like, what the fuck? Dude, and of course he's just sitting there on the couch with his feet dangling everywhere and his dick hanging out. So. Every time you're trying to talk to him, it's like, oh God, they don't want to. But it was like that running joke the whole time. It was just so funny, the way they were executing it. And of course, you got Blind Al in there because she just the moments that she was in the movie were actually very good. So when everyone comes in, they're all putting guns on them. All of a sudden, you see Blind Al just throwing a gun like, oh, way over here. But one of the things we did skip over was even during the early parts of the movie, where Wade would cut open a section of the floor and he'd have some guns and stuff in there. And what do you find? The big stash of freaking cocaine. So he wasn't lying about the fact to Blind Al that there's a huge stash of cocaine in here. And eventually we get to see it in this movie. There's the stash of cocaine. It's like, what the fuck? They really played up on the first movie. Everything you thought about from the first movie, they brought it back in here and just turned it up to 100. It was absolutely hilarious.
Which honestly, I feel that's what a sequel should do, because it's to remind you of certain things that are to be carried on to the sequel from the first movie.
By the way, there's a gun in this movie from Cable that has different levels, and you can turn it up to 11. So,
yeah.
Spinal Tap reference.
Awesome.
They did a Spinal Tap reference to it. I was like, what? So yeah, they turn. It's like, here's each of these settings, what they do, and the next thing you know, there's one that turns up to 11, and I'm like, oh no. they really hit everything on the nod. Everything that you expect in this movie, they hit it, and that's why it made this movie so good. Yeah, sure, I'm not saying it's better than the original, but still, they nailed it like over and over. And then, of course, with all the action moments, it was like they were leading up to, you would have an action piece, it'll slow down a little bit, action piece again, slow down a little bit more, and then bang, here comes, your big third act, when you get to the end of the movie and you get that big showdown. But you bring everybody in now. Obviously, you bring Colossus and Negasonic and Yukio and everybody, and just bring the team together. And here's almost like saying, here's your real X-Force right here, and just go ahead and fight. So
and I love how throughout the movie Colossus is like, oh, you gotta save a life. At the end, he's like, fuck it, kill everybody.
Yeah, Colossus. Yeah, he says he all of a sudden he went from this good-hearted person saying, "Oh, the hell, and then fucking kill them all." It's just,
well, that's the Rasputin in him.
Yeah, and then of course we can't forget Dopender, because eventually he does something in this movie, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
I can only imagine with that character.
What's that?
I can only imagine with that character.
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you, he was great in this movie. He every moment you saw him, it was like you were waiting for him to explode, and then all of a sudden you're going to get that big payoff. But you get to the big fight sequence, and you see Juggernaut and Colossus going at it, and then of course you got Deadpool and Fire Fist, but he gets to the point where Cable tells him, "Listen, I'll give you 30 seconds to talk to him before I kill him," So you get that moment, but you get this big fight sequence that again doesn't let down. It's such a moment that builds up tension to this fight, and when they start kicking each other's ass, it's just a great moments. They don't hold back. We don't get as much gunplay from Deadpool in this movie, which is one of the things I kind of caught on to. But it's like they didn't need it, because obviously in every sequel the body count obviously is a lot higher, and in Deadpool 2 that ended up being the case. They had a higher body count,
right.
But you didn't have to shoot a whole bunch of guns to do it, even though you wanted them to. So you didn't get that here. But again, with the swords and everything, he just did a great job. The fight sequences were all done very well. Again, you get a nice little payoff with the Juggernaut thing when they rip the back of his pants and you see his ass. So you get like a bare ass shot of Ryan Reynolds. So it's like, what the fuck? They nailed every single part. So, and but you get to the point at the end of the movie where they're trying to save this kid, and Deadpool eventually sacrifices his life to save this kid, because eventually there is a gunshot, and Deadpool gets in the way of it while he has that collar on. He put the collar back on to show that he cared about this kid, and he took a bullet for him, and then you get the whole death sequence, which, by the way, is probably some of the best 3 minutes of cinema you're ever going to watch.
Yeah.
Because you're waiting for him to die, and it's like, he's not dying. And every single time he looks like he's going to die, it's like, okay, here it comes. All right, here we go.
What the Deadpool did at the end... What Deadpool did at the end of this movie was a 15-minute JP goodbye.
Yeah. It was hilarious. It was like every time you're just like, is he dead? And it's like you get that dead stare, and all of a sudden, no, I'm not dead. It's like, it just keeps going and going, and you're just watching everybody going, this is so sad. And eventually, of course, it was Cable who, when he traveled back in time to go kill this kid, he still had another charge left, which would be for him to go home, but uses that charge to go back enough in time to save Deadpool from dying.
Oh.
So when Deadpool dies, he thinks, okay, now I'm really dead. I get to be with Vanessa forever. Next thing you know, he gets ripped from that, sent back by Cable. It's like, oh, you bitch. Because he goes from that nasty cancer face to looking like Ryan Reynolds again while he's with Vanessa, because now he knows, oh, I'm dead, and we get to be here forever. And then all of a sudden, he's ripped from her. It was like, wait, what the fuck? It's brought back again, because Cable ends up saving him, because I guess he has he stole something from Wade, which was a token from the arcade from the first movie, from when him and Vanessa first met. So he had the token, and the token ended up stopping the bullet that would have killed him. And so I thought that was really neat and he ends up coming back, and you everything seems to be okay again. And then of course here comes Dopender. So, Dopinder, when his taxi kills the guy from the Institute, I was like, oh shit. They thought that they prevented the future because Cable had this teddy bear that was all charred up. All of a sudden, the teddy bear's not charred up anymore. And then eventually you get Dopinder killing the guy from the Institute, thinking, oh no, now Dopinder could turn into this really bad person. So because he all of a sudden gets the lust of killing somebody, and now all of a sudden he's probably going to become this big killer. So it was really neat just to watch the guy dead at the end and splatter his brains all over the place with the taxi cab.
So
I was like, oh shit. I know we skipped over a lot of Domino, who was so good. Was such a great character, and how they try to portray her luck as something that is not cinematic, but you realize how cinematic her luck is in this movie. I mean, Bobby, give me something of Domino that you enjoyed.
I just liked everything about her. You know, the way that they wrote her. You know, the way she was acted in the movie was just awesome. Like, you know, I want to see more of Domino and Deadpool in the next movie.
Well, hopefully we get a Deadpool 3, even though Ryan Reynolds has come out and said there more than likely won't be a Deadpool 3 because of the potential merger between Fox and Disney.
Right.
And how
they won't allow an rated R movie.
They not want a rated R movie for their Marvel superhero franchise. However, they have come out, Disney at one point has come out and said, if this merger goes through, we will still have a rated R Deadpool movie. So it's
really
weird. Yes, they have reported this, but you're still waiting for the deal to go through, and I think that's the one thing that could hold up a Deadpool 3. But they have talked about doing an X-Force movie, and obviously having Deadpool as part of the X-Force, because it ties into the end of the movie. So
yeah,
you get to
that's what
the end credits.
Yeah, that's what Trekipedia just put in the chat, that X-Force is definitely next.
Yes, you're going to see an X-Force movie with Deadpool in it. And I think that's where they really want to go. Ryan Reynolds has also stated this, that they want to do an X-Force movie. Obviously, Deadpool is going to be at the center of it, of the whole thing. And, you know, you could see how they were when they were planning out, and Deadpool's got the crayons and everything going across the board trying to figure out their whole plan. So, here's Cable. Watch out for this guy. And it's all drawn out like in crayons. But
even in the first one, he had the cartoon drawing of himself in crayon, saying, "Hi, I'm going to hurt you."
They had it all planned out, but I'm going to let Bobbitt talk about the end credits, because I know you loved it as much as I did. So,
oh my god, it was fucking awesome. Like, okay, there was two of them. The first one was Wade gets the time traveler device because Yu-Gi-Oh and Warhead fixes it.
Warhead, yeah.
Yeah, they fixed Cable's time thingy, and like the credits keep going, and you see the second one, which was the fucking best one. He goes back in time to kill the X-Men Origins Wolverine Deadpool, and then he goes and kills Ryan Reynolds when he's reading the script for the Green Lantern movie.
It was great. And the best part is, like, when they showed the X-Men Origins Wolverine scene, we found out that Hugh Jackman did film a couple moments from that scene because it looked a little bit different from the actual movie. So when you see the moment, and there was a little bit of Hugh Jackman there that you didn't see before. So yeah, Hugh Jackman was a small part in that movie, just seeing the expression on his face when Deadpool comes in and kills his other self, but making it like that this Deadpool actually existed, and that was like the whole thing they were working with there in that scene. You did forget, obviously, that he did go back in time and save Vanessa.
Yeah.
And from that one last guy who was hiding in his panic room. And you look at when Deadpool looks and goes, "Really? You got a fucking panic room? What the hell?" But yeah, he ends up killing him, of course, with the cream cheese spreader. Gets him right at the moment before he would pull the trigger, and that way Vanessa is saved, and that she's not dead. So it's a way to bring her back, obviously, in the next movie, but we don't know how it would play and how time would have played out. Maybe she would still be dead somehow, or that ripple effect. We don't know. But yeah, he goes back in time and changes all this stuff. But the other two scenes that you do see with X-Men Origins Wolverine and of course Ryan Reynolds reading Green Lantern, and all you're seeing is the blood all over the script, and then you just turn around and you see Ryan Reynolds with a bullet in his head.
He actually said, "Finally, you made the big leagues."
Oh, it was great. He's like, "Yeah, I made it now. I can." Because I'm in a superhero movie, and next thing you know, he's dead. So. But yeah, they played up on those scenes, and I think it was the fan service that we really wanted, and finally got it. Because we knew how bad Green Lantern was, and how he wanted to just use the Deadpool movies to get back at that, and they did it. And then eventually, obviously, the X-Men Origins Wolverine. Because after he shoots him that one time, like point blank in the head, he's just looking at him going bang, 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 just making sure he's dead. But it was funny because you get Hugh Jackman at that moment when he finally sees this, abomination of Deadpool. He's like, "Oh, so they found a way to shut you up." And then eventually that's when the gunshot happens. "Oh, here I am." Everything's okay. I'm just fixing up the timeline. Bang, 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 bang. What the fuck?
See, and they kind of missed an opportunity with that. If they did not have Logan sit there and just turn around and go, "Well, fuck me," and just walk away.
Actually, you know what? It would really have been funny. I'm glad they didn't do it, but it really would have been funny. Is if they went to that scene from Logan and then brought him back. That would have been really funny. I would have went with that, just seeing him buried in the ground over in Canada. Which, by the way, when after Ryan Reynolds got shot from the Green Lantern script, he was like, "You're welcome, Canada." But yeah, I was hoping they would have gone back to like where they had Logan and maybe found a way to bring him back to life.
Not the old Logan. I would have sat there and tried to have them get the clone.
Well, I would have laughed my ass off if they did that. I'm like, okay, that would have been funny, but in a way, and then again, I could say, okay, I'm kind of glad they didn't.
Yes.
So, but well, someone did. I think it was around the time of the Logan movie. There was a fan film, and in that fan film, there was a guy who was dressed up as Deadpool, where he went to Logan's grave.
Yeah.
And there he was, and he had a needle with him, and he's reading this thing in crayon about doing Deadpool 2 with him and Wolverine and how much money they're going to make. And he has the needle there to go ahead and probably bring him back to life. And just as he's ready to do it, he goes, "Ah, damn it, I can't do it." But another thing they could have done is go back to the first movie where you get to the post-credit scenes all the way at the end, how he talked about how Cable was going to be in the sequel, and they were talking about who would play Cable. Wouldn't it have been great to have Keira Knightley show up?
God. I would have
Come on, Keira Knightley. She's got range. I mean, honestly, come on. Bring Keira Knightley in there. I would have laughed my ass off. That would have been great. See Keira Knightley as Cable.
Keira Knightley is the villain Cable.
But they nailed the things I wanted them to do.
Mm-hmm.
My expectations were clearly filled, and then a little bit above. Whereas the first Deadpool movie, they were a little bit lower because I just didn't know how well they were going to really portray the character, and they just over-exceeded everything that I wanted to see. Mm-hmm. So That's why I hold the first movie in a bit of a higher regard compared to the second one now, because my expectations are at a higher level. And I think a lot of the fans were the same way. Right. So I don't know about you, Bobby. I'm pretty sure your expectations for the movie probably had to have been pretty high compared to the first one.
Well, going to Deadpool 1, I was really excited because it was finally the movie that we all wanted to see. I wanted to see, because I'm a huge Deadpool fan. I have the Deadpool video game, which is nowhere, comparable to the movies. I kept hearing about all these problems that Deadpool 2 was having, with people leaving and the movie getting delayed. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be good. But, so I went to the movie with mixed, I went to the movie expecting a good movie. Holy shit, I think Deadpool 2 was better than the original. Because it's got, dude, I swear, I thought this movie was made for me.
You look at Deadpool, like, in the overall sense of both movies, and clearly this was something that was like you mentioned, was for the fans. Yeah. This is what we really wanted. This is the Deadpool we really wanted to see, and we're finally getting that. And it goes to show, Star Wars, if you listen to your fans, we'll get better movies. And in this case, Ryan Reynolds, who of course is a big Deadpool fan, was perfect for the role. I don't think there was anybody else you could have really put into a Deadpool role and be able to carry the movie. I don't think you could have found anyone else to do this. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe there is one or two, but I can't really think of them off the top of my head who can really carry this. And with Ryan Reynolds, it just works so well. And it just feels like he was just bred for the role. Mm-hmm. This is what he's always felt like. You always want to see him as. You always have like a character or something like that you hear about that's going to come up in a movie, and you have the ideal actor for that person to portray them. And when you look at Deadpool, it's always been Ryan Reynolds. I can't really think of anybody else who could step in those shoes. And I think that's really very interesting compared to what we're seeing in this cast. It's just so well done. And I think that they did a pretty decent job casting the X-Force. So, they nailed it. And then eventually, when we do see the X-Force movie, we'll see some of these characters. Oh, which, by the way, we did still skip another part from the post-credits there. Deadpool does go back to the time when they jumped out of the aircraft. And they saved Peter.
Yeah, they did.
They saved Peter. They told Deadpool was telling him, "Don't save him. Don't try and save him. Go home." He kept telling Peter to go home, and eventually it took a couple of times for Peter finally to get it through his head. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go home. So.
That's how Peter died. That fucking ice cream truck hit him, and he flew into the wood chipper.
Yeah.
Because if you remember that one dude was trying to get him out, and he ended up in the wood chipper.
Yeah. But they saved him. So I thought that was really cool, and told Peter, "Go home. Don't come here. Just go home." So I thought that was really cool. But I love how they realized how next 1984 Head and Yuki are like, "What have we done?" Instead of sending Cable home, which now Cable is in our present time, instead of going back to the future, Deadpool takes that time machine and goes back and does whatever he wants. It would be nice to say if they go into either if it's an X-Force movie or eventually if we do see a Deadpool 3, have him continue to use it, and Cable finds out. That would be something. I think that would be really interesting, and maybe how Cable might miss the fact that he can't go back home to the future because there's no way to use it, and then all of a sudden here's Deadpool pulling out, "Okay, here, let's just do this." We can go back in time. You motherfucker. So I love the way they kind of put that together. But yeah, the time travel thing was great, but yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to expect a Deadpool 3 anytime soon. Obviously, X-Force is where they want to go. I think it's the best place to focus their characters right now and build another team. So you get another team-up movie, and I'm okay with a team-up movie. So instead of just having a Deadpool solo flick, even though I kind of really like these Deadpool solo flicks so far. You know, it's not very often you get good team-up movies. You know, X-Men's always done very well. Obviously, we're still getting another X-Men movie, although it's a little delayed, which I think is the Dark Phoenix one, so we're still waiting on that. Maybe they're really waiting for this merger to go through and maybe stick Deadpool into some of these movies.
One could hope.
And just have him appear out of nowhere and just break the fourth wall. Because he was doing it a lot in this movie, like even more than the first one. And I kind of want to see a little bit more.
Can you imagine Deadpool in the next Avengers movie?
Oh, I don't know. I know it won't happen, but I can imagine it. Just having
just
him
the
show
one-liners between him and Tony Stark.
Either that or him and Thanos. I'd like to see what him and Thanos.
Gee.
Hey, One-Eyed Willie, you know, just start bringing out the jokes.
Yep.
You know, pump the hate brakes cable. You know, just do something. You know, that would be pretty funny, and I would go with that. But obviously, they're not going to do that. I like the serious tone that the Avengers movie has right now, and they have characters that are still alive that can still do comic relief, like a Rocket Raccoon, who can still do the comic relief in the movie. So they're not out of the woods on that right now. But you know, I would love to see Deadpool in there. Maybe they find a way to stick him into X-Men or something, you know, if this merger goes through. Or maybe they could do, if they end up doing another Fantastic Four movie and Deadpool shows up. So I think that would be very interesting. It's not like they have to stick him in the movie. They can wait for a post-credit scene or something like that, and all of a sudden Deadpool just appears out of nowhere. You know, they could do something like that, and I think that would be very interesting. So I'd be more for that. Which they can do, because if this deal, say, doesn't go through, well, at least you still have X-Men. You still can do Fantastic Four and have Deadpool show up as part of that universe.
Exactly, especially since it's on Fox.
Why not?
Exactly.
I'm down with it. And you know, there's still other movies that are set to release. I think they got the New Mutants, which obviously is going to be like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the next X-Men movie. And then, as I said, Fantastic Four are looking to bring that back.
Which I gotta say, we've been waiting for Dark Phoenix for 5 years now.
Yes, I think that's how long it's been since X-Men Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
So we're waiting for that next movie, and it's been getting delayed a little bit. So we know it's coming very soon, and I like to see where they go with it, because supposedly it's going to be like in the 90s. So it would be pretty cool if they could harken back a little bit to that animated X-Men.
That would actually kind of make sense, because it would put her around her teenage years.
Well, no, she'll be beyond her teenage years. She was in her teenage years in the third movie. So maybe she would be like in her 20s or something. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Because then you can be part of that storyline that leads you back to the original X-Men movie.
It could, yeah.
So I would think she would probably be in her early 20s or something like that. You know, because she's got to be at least close to at least a graduate of college and be able to get her doctorate. I think because she was a doctor, and so they need to kind of build up to that part of the role. So, but I'd like to see where it goes. I really do. I think it would be very interesting. I don't think we'll see Hugh Jackman in it, but still, we'll at least see something.
It's like he himself said, he's getting too old for the role.
Yes.
And with he's had so many fights with cancer that his body can't handle it as well anymore.
Correct.
So.
But if they were to have a Wolverine in the future, could you see someone playing him?
Not
I don't know who would play him.
Jackman did.
I don't know, Bob. Do you have anybody in mind who would be the next Wolverine? That would be no.
No.
I can't even think of one right now. At all.
Maybe Jason Momoa, but that's a stretch. Maybe.
That for Logan, yeah, that's a major stretch because he was Canadian.
Jinder Mahal.
Oh God! Do you want this movie to flop?
I'm kidding.
Well, if you want it to flop, you put John Cena in it. No, no, just kidding.
It would make it better.
No, it wouldn't.
Did you see The Marine? No.
I actually liked it. Okay.
Okay. I'm just fucking with you, Bob. It did. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything we would cover in Deadpool. So we kind of leave at least a little bit of surprise to people when they go in the theater and haven't watched it yet, Heather. But
She's going on her own.
oh, there you go.
It's already out of here anyway.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Damn. It's still here by me. Well, of course,
Yeah,
the
my
main theater
is still playing it.
What's that?
My theater is still playing it.
Yeah, a lot of theaters are still playing it right now because it's still making money.
Yeah.
It's still doing very well despite the competition they had with obviously, although Avengers was in the theater about a couple of weeks before Deadpool.
Yep.
So, and then you get Solo, which came up after that. So, and right now, obviously Solo's going to have that big drop off in its second week. So,
Avengers didn't really sell around here.
really,
Nope.
wow,
Not too many.
it killed
people
over
were
here. It killed
high
over
on
here
it.
in Manitowoc. So, it was pretty packed crowds we had in our theaters.
Oh, dude. When I went to see the Avengers, the whole damn theater was packed. I've never seen that before.
I get it a few times for IMAX where it's just jam packed, and obviously I had to reserve my seats for those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to most other movies in a theater, you don't reserve your seats. These like Deadpool and for Avengers, I had to reserve those seats.
Yeah.
But I think now you don't have to because obviously you're not going to have a huge crowd. So even if for anyone that's here today and you haven't seen it yet, we didn't spoil it too hard for you. You can still go in there and still be entertained at what you get. So take it for what it is. If we'll put it this way, Bob, if you had to put it from a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Deadpool 2?
9.
9. Okay, I'm right there with you. I think I'm right there. It's hard for me to give a 10 to a movie.
Yeah.
And of course, Deadpool 1, I'd probably give a 9.5 because I was just so entertained by it, and it was like that really good origin story.
Right.
So I still have to give that, as I said, a slight nod because I find it a little bit better than this one. It's hard. It's very hard for a sequel to top an original. I know in your case, Bob, you feel that it has. I go back to say like Terminator and Terminator 2, how the second Terminator completely blew away the first one, in my opinion. So,
Oh, dude, Terminator 2 for me is a perfect 10.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I fucking love Terminator 2.
I could watch it over and over and over. It's more of a guilty pleasure for
Oh
me.
yeah.
There's very few movies I have that are guilty pleasure type of movies, and of the Terminator movies, yeah, I'll still watch them. Even the third one, I'll watch once in a while. It's kind of a guilty pleasure, but like the Deadpool movies, I can watch just over and over and over and over and over again. That's the entertainment you
The
get.
first one like 10 times already.
Jeez. Well, I got the first one on Blu-ray. I got it on my 4K Blu-ray for the first movie.
Right.
Obviously, this one's a must-buy on Blu-ray when it's out.
Oh yeah.
There's no choice in that matter. You have to buy it.
Oh yeah.
You'll be entertained. and what I look forward to when it does get released on the Blu-ray is what kind of deleted scenes we're going to find.
Right.
And what other goodies they might put in there that we had no clue about. Maybe they have some other
Easter
things.
eggs that are hidden.
Yeah. You're going to see
I really hope the packaging for Deadpool 2, they don't include that little pamphlet to check your prostate for cancer.
What?
They could.
What?
Oh.
In the first one, there was a pamphlet. Do a check your prostate.
For what?
For
Cancer. Hey, you know what you do? You bob it.
What?
Maybe they have something in there for chicks to check for their titty cancer.
Of Deadpool.
Ladies, check for titty cancer. You know.
Me, after watching that movie, I needed to check. I didn't like it. I was not entertained at all by Deadpool. I just, to me, I like the original Deadpool when he didn't say anything. The one in Origins, I'm sorry. He didn't say anything. There was a reason why he wasn't allowed to talk. Because if you, at the beginning of that, he wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Well, I'm gonna leave the call now. You know.
Just saying.
I no longer associate with JP because apparently he doesn't like anything.
I know, I like Star Wars.
Oh man, you gotta have everyone that agrees to disagree once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't find it enjoyable because it wasn't the Deadpool I thought it was gonna be.
But the comic Deadpool is the one that never shuts up.
Yeah,
That's the thing about him. He's not supposed to shut up.
I don't know.
You know what I would have really liked about it is if they had the voice in his head start talking.
Now you've really done it.
If you had the voice in his head along with them, I think that would have been great.
Oh God.
You want to talk about fourth wall breaking?
I got it.
And all the meta humor? Yeah, you're going to get it. But there's going to be some meta humor that some people watching this movie that may go over your head.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel like a Drax, where it's just going to go right over your head.
That is the one thing that the game did get right, though, was those two voices in his head.
Yes. Yes. Because even in the comic, it was like that too, where you had the voice in his head, and they did it here. They did it in the video game, which is fantastic. You know, I loved a lot of the presentation of the game. I think the gameplay could have been a little bit better, but still, the presentation that you get is pretty much straight up Deadpool. Even though it sometimes feels like the story was written by a 12-year-old, but still, it's Deadpool. Basically, that's how he is, kind of like an immature baby kind of type of character, but it just works
Right.
for a superhero. And or what Wade Wilson would say in this movie, "Oh, I'm no hero," you know. So, but he really kind of plays the role of hero here, and he does a good job with it. That's pretty much all I can bring to the table. I love the movie. You know, I enjoy the shit out of it. Listen, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, as we know. And that's fine. You know, it's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Bobby? Got anything else to add?
I was gonna say is, please go out and see this movie. It is so fucking good. like, I swear the beginning part of the movie was written by Canadian Basement. It's just, you know, Brian could attest to this. The shit he does in the first part is so Canadian Basement, it's not even funny.
Oh, yeah. Just those action sequences alone.
Yeah. It's just, oh my god. I cannot wait to watch this again on Blu-ray. I fucking love these movies a lot. And, you know, I'm such a huge Deadpool fan. And I cannot wait to see the X-Force movie whenever it comes out.
I always liked seeing Deadpool in a lot of things. He's become one of my favorite Marvel characters to look into and see stuff from him and how they do his character, especially in video games. They've done a very good job with him. There's so many video games you can find, even on a PS4 or an Xbox One or whatever you're playing on. There is the Deadpool character, not just the Deadpool video game itself, but there's other games that do feature him, like the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games. You can actually play as Deadpool, and was it Lego Marvel Superheroes has Deadpool?
Yep.
And like they have specific missions that are based and hosted by Deadpool. And the cool part during the game is on each of these levels, you'll find Deadpool in each of the levels. Like all of a sudden, you're just looking around, going, "Oh look, there's Deadpool." It was that kind of game. It was like, holy crap, where did he come from? And of course, you get to play as him as well. And I think I even had in Pinball FX where there's a Deadpool table, and it's just all Deadpool. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But I enjoy the character. It felt like it's a character that was written for a lot of people to relate with, and just having this off-the-wall character that you would never think being some type of superhero, which in the beginning he was a villain that just became the anti-hero. And people really like anti-hero characters, and Deadpool is considered one of the better anti-hero characters that's out there. So when they did the movie, they portrayed him very well. And of course, they killed the old Deadpool. So,
of course.
Yes.
Just saving the timeline. Bang, 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 bang. I loved it. So there's many ways to experience Deadpool. You know, not just the comics or any type of novels that you guys can find on him. There's many different ways to experience it, and I suggest you guys find stuff at Deadpool, and if you don't really know much about the character, read into him. You know, you can get a lot more than just a Wikipedia page of Deadpool, and realize how great of a character it is. So
yeah, I'm gonna go and read the comics now.
There's just so much to get into. It's just an amazing character. So enjoy it. That's all I can bring. You know, I mean, I could just start rambling at this point. But,
yeah,
it's a great movie. It's the best way I can put it. Great movie. Go watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Bobbit. But he's up there. He's up there with Batman for me. So Batman and Wolverine and
sure.
Well, Iron Man is some of my favorite heroes.
Iron Man actually bored me.
What's that?
Iron Man actually bored me.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Iron Man. I love Iron Man. It wasn't just the movie. The movie kind of made it a little bit better for me. But in terms of the comic appeal and some of the things that I've read about him, I got into him. But I kind of like, so a lot of times what my heroes are the ones without all the fancy superpowers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the ones without those fancy powers a little bit more. That's why I kind of take to Batman a lot, more than a Superman. It's like Superman can practically do anything, and Batman's more like, human being.
He's relatable.
Yes. Well, he's rich too. Like me. No. So it works out. Like a modern day Bruce Wayne. What can I say?
You were still waiting on the Batmobile, so.
I got a Batmobile. That's my Batmobile right there. So. Actually, you go back in the day, I had a Camaro, and my Camaro was an all-black Camaro, and then when you looked at that, it was like the Batmobile. Oh, that's what my brother called it. It's like, holy shit, it's the Batmobile. So.
No, the Batmobile I want is the one from Christian Bale's first movie.
The Tumbler?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's one I like. I'm the rough and tumble kind of girl, so, I like the vehicles that are pretty much tanks.
Yeah. I remember when a lot of people really wanted to go after the original Batman, or not the one from the 60s, but the 1989 Batmobile.
Right.
So a lot of people like that. I mean, now it's kind of a little cheesy a little bit, but still it was pretty cool for its time.
Right.
But the Tumbler was pretty badass. I gotta admit that was pretty neat.
And you're also talking to the girl who loves the Addams Family car and the Munsters dragster. So
nice. I bring that up because I was playing in the Batman video game that I got, Arkham Knight, and you got all the different Batmobiles in there, and they have the Tumbler, and they have the 89 Batmobile in it. So, and you get to use them in the game, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was pretty neat, and getting to have all these different outfits. I'd like to see another Deadpool video game, but I think it's pretty far-fetched at this point, whether we see one or not. But
it all depends on what programmers out there actually want to pick it up again.
That's the big question. You know, it did pretty decently in terms of sales for the game.
Right.
And they brought back as a remaster not too long ago when they did the first Deadpool movie. So they brought the remaster and of course charged $50 for it, where I was pissed off about. Like now you can get it for like less than $20 at the store. So.
Of course. Okay. If there's nothing else, we can end it here.
I'm cool.
Bobbit?
Bobbit's probably too busy reading a comic.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get in here.
I knew it.
Okay, so with
I don't have the comics yet.
With that being said, we will end it here, and I just got the notification that Insomniac is live right now, so go head on over there and wish the host, Ken, a very happy birthday, and we will see you over there very shortly. Everybody else, have a great night.
See you later, everybody.